Hey everybody, I am back in the kitchen today. I'm glad to be here because I'm going to be making something today that is a universal favorite among all my family and my friends. And it's something I learned to make 1,000 years ago, back when I was actually working as a baker. It's cinnamon rolls. And I'm not talking about the whop open the can and roll it out and all that mess. No, I'm talking about homemade cinnamon rolls. We're going to be making the best cinnamon rolls, I promise. Now listen, they're not hard to make. It is a process. Everything in life is a process, as is this. So let's get started. What we're going to go with is, I'm going to show you what I've done. I have bloomed my yeast. Now we're not going to be using baking powder or baking soda for this application because this is a yeast bread. So we're using, this is just a packet of instant yeast. It looks like, where's my packet? It looks like this. One packet. I have 2 cups of lukewarm water. Don't put it above 110 degrees because that would kill the organisms in the yeast. But get it up to at least 110 and then pour your yeast in the water and let it bloom. And that simply means that it's warming up these little organisms in there and they're waking up and they're starting to produce carbon dioxide because that's where the bubbles are going to come from in our bread. That's going to make it kind of rise. Well, not kind of rise, it's going to make it rise like a crazy thing. But this is what we want. So this is 2 cups of water to 1 packet of yeast. It's going straight in my bowl. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my water. This makes a considerable amount of cinnamon rolls because I have to make a lot because people want them, so I have to give them away. So if I want to keep any for myself and for Brad, I have to make a lot more so that I can give away and then keep some. It is what it is, but I'm happy to do it. This is 3 more cups of water, so it is a total of 5 cups of water going straight in the pool. Then I am going in with 3 eggs. Shout here. Crack open my eggs, my farm fresh eggs. Boom. Boom. So that's 3 eggs straight in. Going in with 1 cup of vegetable oil. Don't use olive oil for this. Olive oil has a distinct flavor and we want something neutral. So if you want to use sunflower oil, you can. If you want to use safflower, that's fine. This is just regular old canola. So that's what I have. So I'm going in 1 cup of oil. I'm going to get it all in because the oil's going to let the bread have a nice soft texture and it's also going to allow it to brown really well because that's important. Now we are going in with salt. When you're making bread, you have to have salt. It's just the nature of the beast. You have to have it. This looks like a lot. This is kosher salt, and this is 2 full tablespoons of kosher salt. For some reason, kosher salt is not as salty as regular iodized salt. So I'm comfortable using 2 tablespoons. So I'm going straight in. Boom. Made a little mess, but that's fine. Let me grab my sugar because I do need some sugar. And I neglected to put out my sugar bowl. So, get my sugar. And for this, we don't need a whole lot. We want about a 1/2 cup. So I'm going to go in here. And I can, yep, just about 1/2 cup. Got the sugar in. And now my handy dandy whisker is going to go on. And we're ready to mix. We're going to be using plain all-purpose flour. Like I said, we're using yeast as our raising agent. So we don't need anything else. So we don't need to use self-rising flour. We're going to use plain all-purpose flour. And we're going to use a lot of it, I promise. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put, go ahead and put 2 cups in. It's a good starting point. And I didn't sift it because I didn't want to. And I'm kind of lazy when it comes to making bread. I don't think you need to sift bread flour. No. But that's just me. We'll turn on low, get it started, and that liquid is going to incorporate into that flour really fast. And that's good. So we're mixing and we're mixing, and we're at a point to where we need to add more. So here is another full cup, followed by one more full cup. Now we've gone in, this is a total of 4 cups so far. And we'll turn it back on. And it's starting to plump up a little bit, but it's still far away from being exactly what we're looking for. So, going in with 2 more. This is 6. Back on. And it's coming together well. And I know that we're going to need additional, so might as well go ahead and get it done. That's 7. That's 7.5. We'll start with that. And if I need some more, I can go grab my flour out of the pantry. Turn that on. Oh, you see how it's starting to clump together? And it looks like it's never going to smooth out, but it will, I promise. When those flour molecules, the protein in the flour, when they start getting stretched due to the water and just the friction of everything moving against it, they're going to start wanting to bind together and pull, and so that's really going to smooth out the mixture. Now you can see what has happened. It is starting to come together beautifully. It's kind of swirly looking, but we're still far off, so I'm going to go ahead finish off that 1 cup, so that's going to be another half a cup, so that makes a total of 8 cups in so far. That's the rest of it. And then we're going into this one. That's 9, so let's see what it looks like at 9 cups. I know it's a lot, but trust me, just trust me, it's necessary. Yes, it's looking perfect. I think maybe not more than 2 more should do it. Maybe not even 2. Now, I learned to make these back when I was a teenager, and I was working for a pretty famous restaurant here in the town I live in. It's called the Smith House, and I learned how to bake. Mostly it was cinnamon rolls, yeast rolls, and cornbread. I learned how to make those things in bulk. 2 of the sweetest people ever, little Estelle, my little friend Estelle, and Mr. Ed Anderson. Not the horse Mr. Ed, but Mr. Ed Anderson. He's passed on now, but he was such a hoot to work with, and he knew what he was doing in the bakery. I think he was actually, he learned his trade, I think, in the military. Well, anyway, wherever he learned it, he had the touch when it came to bread, and you need to respect the dough. A lot of people think that if you just follow the recipe and you do exactly what it says, you can get in here and just work it up and just go crazy with it. But that's not true. Dough requires a firm yet gentle approach because you're wanting to shape it and make it do what you want it to do. Now, dough is one of those things that it wants to do what it wants to do because it's pliable and it's soft and it's ooey and gooey. And in order to tame it, you have to have the tools in your hand, which are your hands basically. And you have to know how to use it. You have to be kind of soft-fingered with it and fold and just work it the proper way to get it to do what you want it to do. I have seen people struggle. They just don't have the touch. Luckily, I learned because I would get my hand smacked if I was too rough with the dough. That's the way it is. So I learned the hard way, but I did learn. And it's possible for anybody to learn it, but it does take time. Now, you can see me, I'm just eyeballing this stuff because I've done it so much and so often that I know what I'm looking for. I know when it's going to be right. when you start being able to eyeball your dough, then you're getting somewhere, because that means that you've really put in some time and effort and learned the craft and learned the creature that you're working with. Now this is still at the very, very, very soft stage. We would not be able to do a thing with this. It would just be a big hot mess all over the board here. So we're going in with 1 more cup. Lower this. Gonna go in on this side. Let's see what that does to it. I might have to eat my words, and it might take 1 more cup after this, but we'll see. No big deal. I got plenty of flour. And Brad's so excited when he saw that I was getting ready to make these. He decided he wasn't going to eat much lunch. He is a cinnamon roll hound dog. I'm not kidding. He loves these. It's right up there on his list with bacon. Of course, there's a lot of people who love these. And I don't blame them, because they're mighty fine. Alright, you see what's happening now? This stuff is coming together. I'm going to feel of it to see how it's going to bounce back after I apply just a little bit of hand pressure. So let me go in here and lower it. I'm going to put a little flour on my fingers just to keep it from sticking. You see how my hand, it's going down in there, but it is still very, very, very sticky. I need just the least bit more flour in there. So I'm going to go in with 1 more cup. So that makes 11 where we're at right now. Raise it up. With my dirty hand here. I'm going to put my hand here to keep it from going everywhere. Woo! Not successful. I got a guard for this, but I never use it because I'm not really bright. If I put the guard on, then the flour would stay in the dang bowl. What are you going to do? Just put it back in. Boom. Okay, this looks just about right. Now, when I say it's, not brain surgery and it's not an exact science here, I mean it. This is very forgiving. You don't have to have an exact amount for it to work, because remember, this is going to be worked on the board, so we're actually going to fold more flour in when we're starting to form the cinnamon rolls. So if it looks a little too soft to you right now, just hold your jets, because we're going to put more flour in, but it might not be in the mixing bowl, but it's still going to be added. I really think that this is it. I like how it's coming together. Now I am going to just turn it up just a little bit, let it keep working. This is not dough that has to be kneaded for a long period of time. So I'm not going to turn it out on this board and work it like you would if you were making like a French bread or, well, any kind of bread for that matter, because this doesn't need it. You don't really need it to be nice and stretchy as the end product. You want your cinnamon roll to be nice and soft and just gummy. So just trust me, you don't have to knead it for a long time. I have just decided just to let it go in the bowl. I'm not even putting on the dough hook. I'm just using my paddle, and it's going to do the work for me, and I love that. So I'm letting it do its thing. And it really only needs to go 2 or 3 minutes, because we've really got all that flour incorporated. And so right now, we're just kind of stretching the fiber in there. What the heck, we'll just cut it off and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Lower the handle and grab my trusty spatula. Now I'm going in to clean some of this off, because this is a considerable amount of dough and it covered up the prong up here at the top, which is not usually what you want to happen, because then you have to clean it off real good. But that's okay. Pull it off. Alrighty. Go in and lift this up so I can get it off. Okay. I'm going to show you dealing with. It is, you see how my hand can go in there, but this dough feels just right. It's just what I'm looking for. Now it is the least bit sticky though. I ain't gonna lie. You don't know what you're doing, and if you go too quick, and if you're not prepared for what you need to do next, then you're going to be a hot mess. I'd like a picture of it. Just cause I'm mean sometimes. But what I'm doing is I'm just pulling all this extra dough off this dough beater. And we are at a stopping point because this dough is going to have to go through the first rise. Now, I'm sorry, precious. This is not a fast process. This is, well, it's a pretty long process, actually. But it's worth it. It's worth the effort. So I'm just going to make sure that I've got all the flour off the sides of the bowl, pulling them in, turning this dough over, and I'm so happy because it's such pretty dough. Yes. Now, I am going to get my oil. This is just more canola oil. And I am going to go around the side here, just like that, just add a tablespoon or so. And I'm going to push it down. And just kind of let it come up the side with that oil. And then I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to let it go for about 30 minutes or an hour. I want it to double in size, basically. Now, if you've got a nice warm room and you started with warm water, then you're ahead of the game, and you're going to see a faster rise on this dough. It's kind of chilly in here today because I knew that with my ovens going, I was going to get bloody hot, and I'm not about being hot, so I turned the AC way down. So I did start with warm water, but I still think it's going to take a considerable amount of time for this to double. So I'm going to let it go for probably an hour, and I'll see you back here in a little bit. Okay, folks, this dough has been rising for quite a while. I actually let it go for like an hour and a half because I wanted it to get very, very voluminous. I wanted it to be huge, and I am not disappointed. This is an hour and a half later, and it is coming up over the side of the bowl, and it is just perfect. So I'm thrilled. And now all we've got to do is just punch it down and get ready to form our cinnamon rolls. This is where it gets messy, but I mean, hello, it's just part of the process. Let me grab my trusty oil because I'm going to put a little on my hand because it's just going to keep it a little bit cleaner or a little bit easier to clean off here in a second. I'm going in. I'm just going to punch it down. See what I'm doing? All this wonderful air that had incorporated into this dough is leaving. And this dough is the softest, most wonderful thing that you've ever found. Seriously, this dough is perfect, y'all. I am thrilled. These cinnamon rolls are going to rock the Casbah. I cannot wait. Golly, I'm excited. All right, let's get busy. So what we're going to do now, we'll start the rolling process. I will be honest with you. I hadn't made these in a while, so I had forgotten what a chore it is. Y'all, it is so worth it. I promise. If you make these at Christmas time, you can give these as gifts, and people are going to think that you are amazing. I'm not kidding. All right, so I'm moving this aside because I got to have a lot of room to work. I like a big room. How's that? Gotta have flour, because what we're going to do is I'm going to use this area to work on. I've got a little oil here, so let's clean up, because if there's any liquid, well, of course we want to get that, because it'll just make a mess. So, got a little sifter here. I'm just going to put some flour down on my board because this is going to be my work site. This is where the action happens. And I am going to cover up anywhere that I think that it might stick because we don't want it to stick. Sticking is not acceptable. is looking about right. And I ain't gonna lie, it's gonna stick a little anyway. Best of intentions here, but hey, whatever. I'm gonna dump that there. Now, I'm gonna work this dough in at least 2 batches because I don't have the workspace to roll this thing out. It'll be a monster. So I'm just gonna go in with my hands like this, and I'm gonna pinch it in the center. Get all up under it in this business, and look. Just gonna turn that half out. See, look, he comes right out. I love working with dough. All right, so this is fine. I'm gonna flour up my hands. And remember I told you that we were gonna be working flour back into the dough at this stage? Well, that's what I mean, but we're not gonna put a whole lot because it doesn't need it, because this dough feels fabulous. Sometimes if your dough is extremely soft, if you got a whole lot of liquid in it, well then that's when you'd want to work more flour in. But this stuff, this is primo. It doesn't need a whole lot of flour at all. So I'm basically just folding it in on itself. See that? I'm just pinching and folding it in on itself until I've got a nice little ball here that is completely smooth. And it is ready to roll. Now I'm going to pinch it up just like that, kind of elongate it, because the cinnamon roll is a rolled product. We gotta roll it out so we can roll it up. So get it that way. Get my trusty rolling pin. Flour her up, girls and boys, because she's gonna need it. And now we're just going to start pushing and pulling. Push and pull, push and pull. And, you know, don't be too rough, but be rough enough. There's a fine line. I'm not looking to roll this, you know, micro thin, but I am looking to get a pretty good thin roll on this because I like to have a lot of layers in the cinnamon roll. And the only way to get the layers is by getting it flat so it will roll thin. I know that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it will in a minute, I promise. If you've never done this before, just hold tight. I tell you, I kind of know what I'm doing, so even if it appears that I don't know, I do. But look, see how nice and flat and thin? And I have got basically a big old rectangle. And that's exactly what we're looking for, is a rectangle. And it's not so thin that you can see through it, but it's thin enough that I know it's going to roll up perfect. So, now comes the butter. Now I've had my butter back here on the eye, softening up, and pretty much it has separated. So now I've got clarified butter, so I wanted to dunk a crab leg in it. This would be perfect. It's fine. Just going to stir it up a little bit. Going at it. Now what I had on the stove was 2 sticks of butter. So we just kind of eyeball it and break it up. Say we'll put 1 stick on this one and then we'll just do another batch. That's how we roll. Now I am spreading this out to the edge. I'm just moving the butter around because I want to coat the entire surface. Anywhere that you've got a little bit of flour on there, it's fine. Just move across the dough, lightly spreading. Just like this. You might a little circle if you want to. Until you've got this whole sucker covered. Now some folks don't want to use their hands. They want to use a spoon or something. Whatever. Just do it. Whatever. Personally, I like the feel of working with my hand because then I can control the pressure. I know exactly how it's feeling. I know where the thin parts are. It's just my method. It might not be your method. And you know what? That is fine. So I'm going to get my little scraper here. It's going to scrape off some of the butter because the next one is going to be messy. But it's the good part. Now, when I make my cinnamon rolls, I use a blend. I use granulated white sugar and I use brown sugar. Some folks just use brown sugar. I like the way it cooks up better when you use a blend because the white sugar, it melts easier than the brown sugar. It turns into a different creature, and I just like the way it works together. So I have taken 3 cups of brown sugar and 1 cup of white granulated sugar. I mixed in 3 heaping teaspoons of a real good quality cinnamon, and then I put in 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. I love ginger. Ginger and cinnamon together, it's a heck of a combo. If you don't want it, if you don't have it, you don't have to buy ginger. But I mean, heck fire, it's cheap and it tastes darn good. Oh, and it smells like heaven. Oh, anyway, this is what we're going to use as our filling. So, and it's so easy, but don't get crazy. We want to put a good amount on here, but we don't want to put too much because there's a fine line. So I'm taking a handful and I'm just going to kind of spritz it on like this. And then I'm going to come back with my hand and I'm going to spread just like this. And I'm going to the edge. And I know I need some more, so I just go grab a little bit more. And I'm spreading to the edge. And if some of your sugar falls off on the board, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Y'all, this is cooking to me is therapy and it's forgiving. And you can do it the way you want to do it. And if it doesn't turn out perfect, that's okay. Because life isn't perfect, y'all. Golly, I'd rather have a big, fat, ugly cinnamon roll than no cinnamon roll. How about you? I mean, for real. Anyway. All right, I'm just moving all around until I get this sucker completely covered. Now, if you wanted to go out on a limb, you could do different assorted varieties of this particular pastry. You could take some sweetened cream cheese, blend it up, and you could smear it all over this thing. Not with the brown sugar, but just smear the dough with the cream cheese. And then you could go in with some pumpkin pie filling, a nice thin layer. That would be heavenly. Then you roll it up and you'd have like a pumpkin swirl. Sounds mighty fine to me. Or you could do this application with the cinnamon sugar and you could add a line of raisins down the side here, or you could strew them over, or you could put chocolate chips. I mean, seriously, it's really, it can be as fun as you want to make it. If you want to do like an apple cinnamon roll, you can cut up some apples, cook them down, put some sugar and cinnamon on those, and then spread it on here. It'll be so good. And I guess you could even do a savory application. If you wanted to do like the Boursin cheese, that herb cheese that's so dang tasty that you see it in the cold section at the store. You can spread this on, then you can put like sun-dried tomatoes and some olives and I don't know, whatever you want. Roll it up and bake it. Holy crap, it would be delightful. I don't know a soul that wouldn't like it. So anyway, it's very versatile. Like I'm telling you all the time, I sound like an old squawking parrot, but I'm not kidding y'all. When you start with a good base of something, you can take that base and you can just go in any direction to get a different product using a single base. I love that. All right, so we've got this pretty much wrapped up. Now I just gotta roll it. Now, everybody's got a method. I come here to the edge and I pick it up. And then I just kind of pull it to me just the least bit. And I just start rolling it. See what I'm doing? I'm just rolling it up. I'm keeping that sugar inside. I'm pulling it to get a nice tight roll on it because you don't want it to be loose and floppy. You're pulling it and stretching it. You're stretching it and pulling it to get a nice tight roll. And this is going to make the layers and the swirls on our cinnamon roll. See, it's awesome. And that dough is so nice and soft. This might be the best batch I've ever done. Honest to goodness, I can't believe how lovely this dough has turned out. I'm thrilled. So, we get to the end, and now what's called the crimping begins, because you have to seal it up. And that's easy, because watch. You just pull this thing over and pinch. So I'm going to pinch it just like that, and it just joins it together. So it's like we're making a big old snake. See this? I'm just flipping and pinching. Flipping and pinching. Until I get to the end. Then I do the same for this side. I'll tell you, Brad's favorite part of the cinnamon roll is the center part. After they've baked and they're cooling, he'll come and he'll grab the middle one and pull it out. It's his favorite thing. And I don't yell at him for doing it because it's my favorite too. Who am I kidding? Alright, so look, we've got this big snake of a cinnamon roll. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move some of this flour out of the way so I can put my pan over here. Wow. Now I have lined this beautiful baking sheet with my parchment paper. And it's time to cut. It's time to cut. Now, since this is not a uniform segment of dough, it's thin here, it starts getting fat here, then it's real fat here. What you want to do, I'm just going to cut him right there. And I'm going to start here. And as it starts to get a little bit thicker, then my cuts are going to get a little bit thinner. See, I went from a thick, a longer cut to a smaller cut. And then you just take it, stick him on this pan. I'm not going to let these touch because they're going to rise up and touch anyway. I don't need them to touch on the pan, and I don't want to crowd them because I want them to spread out and get big. Because aren't you always impressed when you see a giant cinnamon roll and you go, holy crap, look at that, I want it. Now these aren't going to be anywhere near the size of the Cinnabon ones. These taste better than Cinnabon. I'm sorry, Cinnabon, but they do. Homemade always tastes better, y'all, and you know what I'm saying. Anyway, and I don't feel bad about saying it. This is my kitchen. I can say what I want to. Look at that. And then I just press them down a little bit just to kind of get them all the same height at least. And then get my hair out of my face. We're going to want to put these to the side and let them have another rise. So they're basically just going to go into my oven that is just barely warm. And I'm going to set them in here. And I'm going to let them rise for probably another 35 to 40 minutes. And I'm going to keep making cinnamon rolls. And when we come back, you're going to see a miracle happen. Just like that. I'm going to be ready to bake. So I'll see you in a few. Bye. Okay, y'all. They are out of the proofer. And look how they have risen. Look, they're like 3 to 4 times the size that they were. And that's wonderful. That's what we want. But I put these in these little pans. And they're going to run over. So you need to have a little insurance pan. And I put them in a bigger pan. So these are going into an oven. I've got mine set at 375. It's preheated. It beeped at me a second ago. So these are going straight in. And then my big pan is ready. It's going in too. So I'm going to set the timer for about 25 minutes. And we'll come back in 25 minutes. Hey y'all, we're back, and it smells so stinking good up in this house. I can't even tell you, it is cinnamony, yummy goodness. I put these things in for 25 minutes, and they don't need 25 minutes. I don't even know what I was thinking because it's been almost, well, I guess 15, and they look almost done to me. I've been letting them go at least a little bit here, just kind of wanting them to continue to brown up. But I'm gonna pull them out because I seriously think that they're done. So here goes. I'm telling y'all, these are so worth the stinking effort to make. Look at that. Cinnabon, eat your heart out. What? Ugh. They are so beautiful and they smell so good. Now look at that. I'm thrilled. I really am. I am happy as a lark. I think my lessons years ago have stuck with me. Yay! Now, they're ready to eat, but there are certain people in this world who think that you cannot eat a cinnamon roll unless it's got glaze on it. And, well, I like them the way they are, but folks like them with glaze. And Brad's one of them, and so is our friend, Art Brown. He likes them with glaze too. So I am going to make a little glaze here. And it's the simplest thing. I like to make a glaze using milk, but if we're going to eat them all at once, then I would go with milk. But these are probably not going to get eaten in one sitting, so I'm going to use water. And seriously, I sifted 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. And now I'm going in with just water. It was about 1/4 of a cup. And I'm just mixing it all together. It really depends on how thick you want your glaze to be. I like for mine to show up. I want to know it's there. And you can put a dash of vanilla in if you want to. But I'm not going to because I forgot to bring it out. So we're just going straight up sugar and water. And it's perfect. Look at that. See? Boom. So now that these are hot, I'm going to dump this in the sink. Boom. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of this on top of these suckers and tell me what you think. Here goes one. Ooh, look at that. And they're hot and it's just melting down the side. Y'all need to just come on over right now. I know you want to. And I would love to have you here because this made a whole bunch. I told you that I have to make a large batch of them because I end up giving so many away. Well, it's a good thing because I've ended up with probably, well, this is 12. This got about 48 cinnamon rolls. So I hope folks are hungry for them. Anyway, I'm just going to continue doing this. I might have to make another batch of the glaze. But I hope you learned something. I hope you got a kick out of watching this. I do think that it is worth the effort. But remember, it is effort. This is not a quick fix. This will take you quite a while. So you can get other things started in between the steps of making these. I want to give a shout out to my friend Sarah. She gave me this awesome apron, and I meant to talk about it earlier in the show, but I forgot because I'm old and that's how I rock. But anyway, thank you, Sarah. I love it. I hope that you guys give me a like, and I hope you subscribe to my channel. That's always appreciated. And it would be awesome if you would come visit me at jamieteachmetocook.com. As always, I love having you there, and you can find all the recipes in Word document or downloadable format there. And that's all she wrote, folks. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.